On the Choose to Think podcast, I will encourage and empower you to engage and optimize your best thought life in practical, meaningful ways so that you can live day by day in joy, peace, and God's purpose despite all externals. This is Victoria, and welcome back to the Choose to Think podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there, this is Victoria, and welcome back to the Choose to Think Inspirational podcast. I am just delighted that you are here. I want to tell you something that just happened to me. And, this has never happened to me before, actually. I was interviewing Carol McLeod for the show. She is a beloved friend who I've met in person just once, but I am a huge fan of her work. She writes amazing Bible studies and books, and I've had the privilege of interviewing her a couple of times on the show. So this time, as we were preparing for the interview, I've been kind of like in the slumps, in the dumps. And sometimes I'm scratching my head as to why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I can't almost believe it. I'm like, Victoria, what are you thinking about? But I've really kind of I feel like I'm at a crossroads with my ministry. And there's nothing in my life that's terribly difficult right now, if that makes sense. Things can be stressful. My plate is very full. I juggle a lot of balls. But all in all, I have untold blessings. I have countless blessings. And despite all of that, I have found myself feeling really meh or blah. At one point, I even thought it was like depression was kind of knocking at my door. I've rebuked the enemy. I've done everything that I know to combat these feelings that I've been having. And for some reason, yesterday and today, I've just been crying a lot, which also isn't something that I've done recently. I can cry and I'm very sentimental and that kind of thing. But this is just like crying, just like I can't even articulate what it feels like, but just like the tears are rolling down my cheeks. So this morning when I woke up, I was both filled with great awe and excitement about interviewing Carol McLeod, but I was also dreading it because I thought, I'm going to have to fake it. The whole time I'm with her, I'm just going to have to fake it and like pretend that everything's okay. And hi, this is Victoria. Welcome back to the Choose to Think Inspirational podcast. And, be that kind of energy. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know if I can do it. But I didn't want to cancel the interview because I knew she had planned that in her day, and she's very busy, and she had marked a special hour just to connect with me. So I didn't want to dishonor her by just canceling for no good reason other than I'm just been really weepy. So I went ahead and went through it. But the whole morning, I was crying the whole morning. I was trying to slather on makeup and get my hair ready and, just kind of like going through the whole motions. And the instant I saw her face, I started crying because she's just so kind and she's so generous with her encouragement and her mannerisms. And I tried to be upbeat, and this is probably the third time I've had her on the show because you all love her for one thing, and she just douses you with such sweetness and kindness and encouragement and inspiration. She's so inspirational. But this time I felt like I needed all of those things. So I came to the table really hungry. But then suddenly I felt like I wasn't being professional. And I tried to just suck it up and work my way through it. I even minimized the screen, like went to her screen so nobody would see me wiping away my tears. I look tired or something as I was watching it, and I even apologized to her several times during the interview. I lost my train of thought. I just was out of sorts. It just wasn't a good day, but I came to the table, to that interview, hungry, and I left as if I'd had a feast. And it made me realize that there's such beauty in being transparent. There is such relatability in just sharing who we are, how we are as Christians. We all struggle. I know you struggle. I know that you may be feeling a little meh. Maybe you're in the storm of your life. Maybe you're just like I am and you've got everything good in your life, really. A few hardships and sticky situations like normal, but you're still kind of like there's nothing to be upset about kind of thing, but yet you're finding yourself a little listless, a little bit out of sorts, a little bit scratching around trying to think, like chickens scratching the yard, just scratching their little claws around. Maybe you're trying to figure out what's next. What do I do next? And I think that's kind of where I've been. I've been beseeching the Lord about my ministry. And do I keep podcasting? Do I write another book? Do I create a community of Christian women? Do I gather a few women together for Bible study weekly and that community aspect? What is it, Lord, that you want me to do? And I think that's a part of some of the angst, the existential angst that I'm feeling as far as my profession. But I'll tell you this also, I was recently watching a YouTube video about developing a healthy and strong pickleball mindset. And I was so captured by the young man delivering the video. He is a very high-ranking pro-level player, and he has tens of thousands of subscribers to his channel. But what really grabbed my attention is that on this particular video, he was talking about his thoughts. He was confessing areas where he struggled, and I found it so extremely endearing and encouraging to my own pickleball heart. My pickleball playing heart. He said things like, whenever I was playing opponents that I thought were better than me, I wouldn't even play my game. I would make foolish decisions. I wouldn't play the game. My shot selection would be like no other, almost giving them the ball on a silver platter because I lacked confidence and thought that I didn't deserve to be there. Pretty much just handing them the game. And, later as I pondered all of this, I could so easily relate to that. And then afterwards, I felt so curious as to why I felt like I had just taken a breath of fresh air after hearing him confess that he was struggling. And I think it's because he was authentic and he was real with his audience. He was transparent. He seemed human, but he was also humble. And finally, it wasn't just all his amazing shots about how dedicated he was and about how hard he worked to improve and how it was paying off. He was instead confessing his weaknesses and his struggles, so instantly I, as well as a boatload of other viewers, felt encouraged and validated. And it made me think, wow, if someone like this guy is crazy impatient on the pickleball court or gets in his head or feels intimidated playing against other higher level players, and he works through all of that, then I can too. But let me just say that his message was more than 5 ways to become a better player or 3 tips to improve your dinking skills. It started from a position of humility and honesty. He was not glorifying his flaws or trying to self-degrade either. It was more of, this is where I am, and this is how I'm learning to deal with it. I absolutely loved his message. And this made me wonder, do I provide that type of messaging to you? I try to. Although sometimes I may be a bit guarded because this is a public platform after all. I have to be careful that what I share is more about myself than anyone else, right? Just to honor them and not run the risk of misrepresenting anyone or sharing any, breaking a confidence and things like that. But for today, I'm kind of just pondering with you, ad-libbing this, thinking, what are some of my struggles and hardships? And I went back to what he said, his quote. I was playing opponents that I thought were better than I am, and that I wouldn't even play my game. I would make foolish decisions. My shot selection would be like no other, almost giving them the ball on a silver platter because I lacked confidence and thought I didn't deserve to be there. And that's sometimes how I feel as a podcaster. Sometimes I lack confidence, and I think, is what I'm doing really helpful to other people? Is the message encouraging your heart? And what is it that I'm really looking for? Do I have misaligned goals? Because frankly, I want to grow. I thought that the ministry, like being in business and being an entrepreneur, that I was supposed to grow. I was supposed to grow my business. Well, confession, I have no idea how to do that. I mean, I can post on social media. I can join coaching programs. I can, put the content out there. I can write books and try to sell books. But I don't know really how to like take business risks and stuff like that. I feel kind of held back, and I think I've been sitting in the sidelines a little bit, just waiting for God to kind of take over, because I've not known. And maybe you can think of a situation in your life where you want to surrender this thing to God, but yet you're still trying to control the thing because you do have responsibility in it. Isn't it a kind of a mixture of what God does versus what I do? And I think what I'm coming away with, especially after talking to Carol today, I really only need to do one thing. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey? Get your copy of the Choose to Think 365-Day Devotional by yours truly. It's a powerful guide to renewing your mind and living your best thought life, featuring scripture-centered devotionals endorsed by Christian songwriter Jenny Owens and applauded by Sherry White of the Messy Christian blog, who says, "This is a game changer for our Christian walk." Dive into 5-minute daily segments covering faith, purpose, relationships, emotional health, and physical wellness. But that's not all. Complete your journey with the Choose to Think companion journal. Document your reflections, share with a partner or group, and celebrate every thought-by-thought transformation that you enjoy. This is your chance to supercharge your brain and start living your best thought life today. Click the link in the show notes to peek inside and order your devotional and companion journal now. This combo makes a wonderful gift for you to do with your loved ones, or in a group of friends, or in your small group. Your transformation begins with a single thought. Isn't it time you choose to think? Get your copy today. My job is to seek God. It's to seek the Lord. And the more I delight myself in God, the more He will give me the desires of my heart, which sometimes I don't even know what those desires might be. I long to be a person, a friend for you who is telling you, oh, this is what I'm struggling with, so that you can have the same feeling that I had after watching this guy talk about his play. I want you to know that you're not alone in your struggles, that every single person on this earth has struggles. But I want to also always encourage you to look to God for help, but I need to encourage myself to do that too, right? There would be nothing more of a farce than if I stood on this platform, this podcasting platform, air quotes there, and I declared that you matter to God if I don't feel like I matter to God. Now, I do know that I matter to God, but sometimes I feel unworthy to be used by Him, or sometimes I feel like my voice is so small and that it might not matter. And what difference does it make if I'm doing this? And see, those are lies and thoughts of the enemy. And I think recently this might be the key here to why depression has been knocking at my door. It's really been Satan who's been firing a few darts my way and causing me to doubt. I'm trying to think of, I'm actually thinking through this with you out loud, but he may be causing me to doubt that my mission has a purpose or that it is helpful. And I don't know if you ever feel that way. Maybe you feel like as a mom that you're just exhausted and you're just spent and you try so hard, but maybe you don't see the reward. But I think that for me, that I just need to pull back and allow His truth and His love to encourage my heart a little bit more. And I need to make sure, as a matter of a fact, that I am not suiting up for the enemy's team, that I'm not going to wear that journey that says, "Go Satan" on the back. Because when my thoughts come in alignment with the enemy of my soul, then it will lead me to really, really dark places. And after talking with Carol today, I realized that I had been agreeing with the enemy. And her resounding message and her reminder to me, I just needed the reminder, I think. And maybe you need this reminder that you are valuable. You matter. The work of your hands, the things that you spend your time on, they are important. You may not influence 5,000 people. You may not influence 50 people. But even if you're just influencing one person, it matters. You've heard that, the audience of one, that kind of thing. Jesus, God, is your audience of one. And what you do really does matter. Tim Keller said, to be loved but not known is comforting but superficial. To be known and not loved is our greatest fear. But to be fully known and truly loved is, well, a lot like being loved by God. You see, God sees you at your lowest. He knows when you are discouraged. He knows you. But not only does he know you, he loves you just the way you are. And he loves you too much to leave you there because he wants you to grow through it, just like he wants me to grow through this kind of dry season right now in my life, this unusual season where I have nothing to complain about really, but I just kind of feel feel flatlined. That's what I've been kind of going by my feelings and ignoring my faith. And I want you to know that God both sees you, he knows you, and he loves you. Brene Brown says that vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. So when you have the gumption to get up each day and you're putting together the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for your kiddos, or you're sending them off to soccer practice, or you're hitting the road every day traveling to your job, maybe you work in an office, or you're caring for your loved ones, that matters. It really, really matters because you have the courage to show up. You're showing up, and you can't control outcomes, but you're showing up. Or maybe you have a ministry. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you have some goal like running a marathon. All of those things take courage. Being vulnerable is allowing yourself to be seen in those ways, but you have the courage to keep showing up. And I just want you to know that God sees you. I don't care what your occupation is. I don't care how you fill the minutes of your day. God sees you. He knows you. He loves you. And he will give you that courage that you need to keep showing up. I also love what Dietrich Bonhoeffer says, and I think that movie's coming out soon. I'm hopeful that I get to go see that. But he said the first service one owes to others in the fellowship consists in listening to them, just as love to God begins with listening to his word. So the beginning of love for the brethren is learning to listen to them. We all need a listening ear. And I think that's what I got today with Carol. She kind of listened to me. This was an interview for her after all, and yet she's listening to me as I'm pouring out my heart a little bit to her and confessing to her some of the struggles that I was having. And she listened. She served me today simply by listening. And I want you to know that part of what he's saying is just as love to God begins with listening to his word. I need to listen to his word. I'm so excited about a book that I'm reading these days. It's called Jesus Speaks, and I've not researched the author. I don't know anything about them. I think I picked up this book when I heard one of them talking on a podcast maybe, and I was so taken by what they were talking about, and I thought that was something that was missing in my life spiritually. I wanted to listen to God, and I need to listen to his word. And that's one way that I can show love and show my devotion to God is by listening to him and reading his word and being sensitive to the Spirit And sometimes if you're as busy and productive as I am, you might just need to take a little bit of a break, some time out, some quiet time to be still and know God. And I guess what I'm saying in all of this is I think you're with me at this point because I do share these things about myself and that maybe you can relate. But I also don't want to leave both of us hanging there to where we're just like, oh, woesy me, what are we going to do? And if we are really riding shotgun with God and we're in the passenger seat and it's going to be a great ride, and it's going to be a bumpy ride at times, and it may be smooth sailing at other times, but come what may, we know that God is in control and we're going to look to Him and we're going to listen to Him and we're going to call on Him, and we're not going to let our feelings take over the steering wheel on that plane or the stick of that plane. We refuse to be led by our feelings. And you and I both, I challenge us to recognize those darts that the enemy is throwing your way. Can you think of any right now, anything that you've been telling yourself that God would not tell you? And if you can isolate a few of those thoughts, I would encourage you now to stop and to realize, to look down at the jersey that you're wearing. You may just be wearing a jersey that says, "Go Satan" on the backside. And I don't think you want to wear that jersey any more than I do. So in a moment of transparency, I thank you for listening. And I just want you to know that if you're like I am, and if you're struggling as a Christian, it's not always rosy, and we can go to dark places. But thank goodness there's a reboot button. Just like you can press the reboot on your computer, you can do that on your thoughts as well and on your mindsets. Maybe that's what you need to do today, like I did. Talking to Carol gave me a big dose of, wow, I've been kind of in my own little world here and thinking thoughts that are not God-honoring thoughts and are not truthful. And I just need to completely start over and have a fresh little palette there. And suddenly what happened as a result of that is that I feel a little excited again, because I know that I'm going to persevere and I'm going to be patient as God guides me and directs me. And let me just say that that's not easy, because I can't hear Him giving me answers right now. My ears are tuned to His voice, and I want to hear, and I know that He'll demonstrate things to me that I need to do. And He speaks through other people. He speaks through His Word. He speaks through dear friends and mentors, and I'm listening. But in all these things, I'm going to be patient. I'm just going to persevere. I think I was at the moment in persevering where I needed a drink of water. And that's what Carol did for me today. She kind of said, "Here, friend, take a drink of this." And not only did she offer me a drink of water because I was feeling a little parched, but what she also offered me was biblical truth and scripture, which is living water to our souls. And so maybe you need to hear that today. Maybe you need to hear that no matter where you are, what scenario you're in, and maybe you're bone weary, and maybe you've asked God and asked God and asked God for answers, and you just don't seem to know what He's saying back. You can't find the answer He's giving you. I want to encourage you to hold steady. Hold steady. He's going to come through. He is God Almighty. He is Jehovah Jireh, your provider. He is Jehovah Roy. He sees you. He's the God who sees you. And not only that, He knows you in and out, and He loves you through and through. He has not abandoned you, even though you may feel abandoned. Let you and I today stand against our feelings and not let them run the show. I can tell you that the Bible emphasizes the importance of honesty and openness. Paul encourages believers to put away falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, which highlights the value of transparency. Even in James, he urges Christians to confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed, which underscores the power of vulnerability in fostering genuine relationships. And that's what I want you to feel. I want you to confess and just tell me. And that's kind of what I'm doing to you. I'm telling you that I struggle. I struggle with my ministry and knowing which way to turn sometimes, and knowing if it's really worth it to you or if it's valuable to anyone. But I need to kind of remove myself from that perspective or those thoughts and instead just say, Lord, this is a work that I do unto. Also from a neuroscience perspective, I'll say that authenticity fosters trust and connection. When you share your struggles and hardship, it activates the brain's empathy circuits, particularly the mirror neuron system. Have you heard of that? Which allows others to feel what you are feeling. And this shared emotional experience can strengthen the bond between you and your friend or your loved ones. And I would encourage you to confess, to grab a friend, go to that mentor and just say, you know what? I need to foster trust and connection with someone. I need to just tell you what's going on in my life right now. Because that kind of authentic storytelling also engages the brain's reward system. When you confess, when you tell someone that you're struggling, then what's going to happen is that your brain will release oxytocin, which is sometimes called the love hormone or the hug hormone, which is only going to promote feelings of trust and connection. And this is a neurochemical response that you're going to have, which will cause you to feel closer to someone and connected when you're just being real and vulnerable. That's how I felt with Carol. I knew that, I got a reward for that. It was so rewarding. That's why I went to the table starving, but I left the table full as a tick, as we say in Kentucky. But my belly was full. My heart was full. And people long for that. It's why I felt so on fire after hearing this pickleball guy. I was almost shocked that he was saying he struggled. And it was so rewarding to me. And I felt instantly relatable to him. Why? Because we're in a world that's dominated by curated social media feeds and superficial interactions. So you and I both crave authenticity because it feels real and unfiltered. That's what we want. It cuts through the noise and it offers something that's both relatable and meaningful. I just want you to know that in my own struggles, I've not abandoned ship. I still seek God. I still do my devotionals. I feel very close to God on the one hand, other than the fact that it feels like He's not giving me guidance or direction. But maybe He is and I'm just not seeing it. I don't know. But I know that these experiences that I share with you may make you feel less alone in your challenges and your struggles, because they also reflect the universal human Christian experience. As a Christian, we can have meh kind of seasons. And we can recognize that we're partnering with the enemy of our soul, and we can make changes. And that's really what I want to do. Oh my goodness. Well, I hope that this message has been encouraging to you. And I also hope that you know that I, in any way I can, would attempt to bear your burden. And I want to share my struggles so that I can exemplify the humility and honesty that Christ modeled. And I don't want this message just to be informative, but I also want it to be transformative in your life. Because authenticity and transparency in relationships, even those that we have, you and I together through podcasting, that's probably why you come back to this show, because it's like, you feel like you're getting to know someone. It's not a highlight reel, is it? I'm not just saying all the wonderful, grandiose things, because my life can be messy. It's not perfect. I have to work through a lot of relational struggles and issues, and some of that gets really, really, really sticky. I have to work through mindset issues on the pickleball court. And I'm telling you, it's like sometimes I play and I don't even know why I say the things I do when I'm on the court, or the tone. People have called me out on the tone of my voice, and I'm not even aware that I have that tone. So it's not pretty sometimes. Sometimes my behavior is ugly. It's just ugly. And I'm grateful that I can recognize that, and that God is shining a light on that and showing that, so that I can make changes, and that I can really be salt and light to God and shine the light to Jesus. Because look what He went through to prove His love for us. As humans, as Christians, we have a deep need for connection. So I would encourage you to reach out to someone. There's someone who needs to listen to what you have to say or to share. So can you be transparent to someone today? Can you offer them a drink of water today? They're thirsty and they need just a little cool drink on a hot day because they're in a barren land right now. They may be struggling in ways that you have no idea. There could be addictions and strongholds that people are going through and you may not know. And from you, maybe you can just offer them a little drink of water by sharing your own personal stories, your hardships, by being vulnerable and transparent before them. And what's going to happen when you do that is that you're not just sharing the water to quench their thirst. You're giving them living water, which will satisfy their soul deep inside and will help them to know that they're not alone. And that's what I want you to do here. I want you to also tune into Carol's podcast. It's coming up in the next week or so. You're going to love it. Good grief, do I ever have a lot of editing to do. I promise to keep all the messy, my goodness, I just look so tired and weary and battle worn or something. So the battles that rage in your life and my life, they may be different, friend. I'm sure they are. But nevertheless, they're battles. And we get dirty and we scrape our knees. And maybe we just need a hug from a friend. Maybe we just need someone to say, yeah, I know how that is. I struggle too. So I want you to know that though I have a podcast, though I've written a couple of books, though I try to be that fun, fit, fab, 50 plus Nana and all of that, I don't always have my act together. And I don't want to always, self-degrade or something like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to just let you know that I struggle. And what you see sometimes, the smiling Victoria and the Victoria who's, peppy, and maybe I have my hair done and I've actually got nail polish on. I've got nail polish on right now. I did my nails last night. I thought, well, I'm just going to do my own nails. So I did them, but that Victoria that has nails done, and maybe if I even have lipstick on, it's not the whole me. It's a part of me, but it's not the whole me. And I do have struggles. I have struggles with impatience, struggles with my tone of voice, struggles with poor sportsmanship, struggles with selfishness and self-focus and self-pity. And the good news is I have a God who loves me, sees me, knows me, and keeps on loving me anyway. I know that God wants to refine me and you. He's not going to leave us alone in that process. The refining process may be painful and it may be eye-opening, but God's not abandoned us. He's not going to leave us alone in that process. He is the fuller. He is the one who cleans. And He's got great, great adventures in store for you in the future. So you hold on to Him, and He's got hold of you. And even when you feel like you can't hold on, He's got you. I would encourage you to take a deep breath and press that reboot button on your brain and your heart and allow God to step in and offer you a new hardware system altogether. Because you're wiring your brain and you are going to choose to think thoughts that bring Him glory, thoughts that align with His truth, and thoughts that resonate with life. You're going to rewire your brain, the hardware system of your soul and your mind with God-honoring thoughts. You're going to find that bounce in your step again. Maybe you'll have the bounce in your step for 5 days and then suddenly you're like, whew, maybe you slip up, but that's just life. And that's the way it is for all of us. But we're going to persevere as Christian sisters and brothers in this together. We're going to keep fighting the good fight. We're going to hold on to the faith, and we're not going to give up. So I love you. Thank you for listening today. I'd love you to share this episode if you think it'll encourage one of your friends or one of your loved ones. Would you just share it with someone? I also have a few links in the show notes where you can purchase the Choose to Think devotional if you'd like to buy that and have a daily devotional. Would be awesome. And then, of course, there's Pickleball Passion, which is a 21-day devotional. The larger devotional is actually a year-long devotional for little snippets of how to choose to think each and every day. So thank you again for joining. God bless you.
And that's a wrap, Brain Changer. And listen, if you like what you hear, would you leave us a 1 to 2 sentence review at Apple Podcasts? Share the link with a friend or tag me on your share on social media. It would mean the world to me and would help us to keep shining the light of Christ and sharing the good news to others who are in need of encouragement. Please visit us on our website at choosetothink.co. That's with the number 2, choosetothink.co, to get on our monthly newsletter list. And if you need a guest speaker for your next women's retreat or church event, I'm your gal. Email me at choosetothink@gmail.com. And that's with the number 2, choosetothink@gmail.com. Finally, I offer limited free mentoring sessions each month where you and I can chat to help you develop a strategy for your thoughts in any area of your life. I'm a certified life coach and I have something to share. Visit choosetothink.co and click on mentoring for more details. Also, keep in mind that the messages on this show are for informational and educational purposes only. Please consult your medical doctor for all medical issues. Thank you again for tuning in. God bless you.